Hey there, I'm Tam.
And I'm eternally mortal.
And this is the Hidden Egg Podcast.
Welcome.
First thing on the order is that I have merch.
There's merch now.
There is merch now, and I will link to that into the description of wherever descriptions happen for whatever happens. I don't understand how the podcast works, to be honest. I'm just pressing the buttons.
Yeah, you push the buttons.
I push the buttons. Also, the notes thing, I wanted to clarify. For number 9, if you go to like the Buy Me a Coffee thing to get the notes, that one will be for members. It's like $1 a month to be a member. Anything previous will be for any supporters. So if you just do $1, ever, you'll always have access to all the notes. So the current episode for the week will be a membership thing, and all the rest of them will be anybody who has supported anything, even if it's just a tiny little amount. So just wanted to clarify that.
Before we go any further, I'm going to go ahead and throw in the disclaimer that if you do decide to engage by purchasing merch or doing the whole Buy Me a Coffee thing, make sure you're taking care of yourself first, you and your loved ones. It's very important to us that you're happy and healthy, and if you have extra, feel free to share, but it's never expected.
Okay, on to the responses.
So
the first one, I think he was actually the first one to comment at all, was Eric Monk.
Hello, Eric.
And I've already forgot. I responded to what he said, but it was like April 11th. Yeah, so that was before last episode. And I just didn't get to it. So, thank you. I know that he's said several other things, so I don't know if we need to necessarily go into everything that he said right now.
I just, it had a lot to do with wanting to make a positive impact, but, just a little nudge for anybody in a more positive direction, and I appreciate that. And also how you need to be real to do so, and I appreciate that as well. So thank you for sharing, Eric.
And another one.
Thank you for that as well.
And then Jenny
Gargarello?
I think it's Gargarello.
Okay. Gargarello? Maybe.
Well, that could be too. I don't know. Let us know in the comments, Jenny. She said it was very inspirational. Brand new listener, seems.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Natalie says that she was bookmarking this to go back and listen.
You're welcome for sharing. Absolutely. Thanks for your comment.
Jenny Lane got really excited or scared. I'm not really sure what the emotion is, but interested in us being engaged previously. If you missed that, it was episode 8. We explained a little bit of our past and our current relationship now. And then the whole partners not being required to be everything. She definitely agrees.
Yeah, I think Jenny and I had a little bit of a conversation about that in the comments, if I remember correctly.
Eric Monk again. See, I told you. There were a lot of him. And I'm totally happy about this. He had a lot to say and has a lot. I might need to put a link to at least one of these in the description.
I think it's delightful that you rewinded a few times. That's such an honor. Thank you. And a wall of text. Yeah, we like our walls of text here on Medium, I think.
Also, that's really showing age, seeing rewinding.
I guess it is at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can probably continue there.
Yeah, so this one was actually really long. Oh, and he was talking about his friendship with this guy that, I don't know, it's one of those stories things. And
you're kind of talking about the differences in the ways that people make friendships and what they mean to different people and everything like that. And it was very well thought out. I appreciated it a lot. I believe we talked about this one a little bit too in the comments.
Yeah, it was kind of a big deal. I started to think while reading his thing that maybe I was supposed to be a Dane instead of an American.
Maybe, but Americans get a bad rap, kind of rightfully, and those of us that live in America that really try kind of feel a little bit buried by it sometimes. But my God, first world problems, right?
So anyway, I'm looking forward to the next session of Eric rambles about shit he has no mandate to opine on.
And I don't have it written in front of me, but I did turn that into that. Well, I don't remember what the name of it is, but it was
Irashhenmatu.
yeah.
Yeah.
Rash number two.
Yeah.
Yeah, a rash number two. I'm looking forward to it. No pressure though, of course, Eric.
Jenny Lane came through again on this quote about intimacy and friends. It was pretty long and pretty neat.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
I liked it a lot too.
Thank you, Jenny.
Carrie hadn't actually. I don't think that she actually listened to it just yet. She's kind of,
We're all busy.
Yeah, we're all busy at this
Look,
point.
no pressure,
so
y'all,
fine.
to keep up with it immediately. Like, take your time, listen to it when you can, if you even want to. There's no pressure at all.
Also, we do them once a week, so you're not going to get that far behind. They're less than an hour typically.
Cross your fingers.
Cross your fingers. So it's fine. You can catch up when you have time. And then you good.
Hello, you good.
You good had and today's episode's going to feature her a little bit more than usual. One of the things that she said was actually for this episode about how meeting people in different experiences, different locations, or different information, even how that changes your perception of them.
Yeah, a way I explained it kind of in our pre-show discussion was that, kind of going into that transition from being like a public online friend acquaintance to like a private online acquaintance where the things that you say to each other, are not being able to be read by everyone in the world if they wanted to. And so, you can get a little bit closer. You can exchange personal information. Be careful with that, friends. Please don't give your personal information to people that are going to harm you. But, making that transition is a very interesting, and of course there's further transitions from there to go into IRL stuff.
And then we had Akanksha saying that I pronounced her name right. I seem to be pretty decent.
You're doing pretty well at this.
At pronouncing people's names, but I'm sure that's not gonna last.
Keep an eye on your hubris.
It's not gonna last. I can't be all like, oh, I am the perfect at pronouncing things.
And thank you, Akanksha, for saying we rock. That's awesome.
Akanksha.
Yeah, I'll probably just mess it up every time. I'm so sorry. You deserve better. Genuinely.
Lorna had a lot to say. She didn't do it on the article, but she had a lot to say about how our awkwardness and the difficult moments where we pause
and think
and really decide how to reflect and like answer different things. Like apparently that's, I don't know, let us know in the comments, is that what all of you guys enjoy about this podcast?
Because Lorna seemed to believe that it was a big draw. And I don't think that we were going for that as a big draw, and I don't think that we're going to try and like emphasize it to continue to be a draw of any sort. But I'm really happy, I'm touched that people like that, because that's one of the things that I look for, is people just being super genuine and being themselves, and that's what we're trying to do the whole time. Sorry if I'm mumbling. I might mumble sometimes. Anyway, but since we do pause and we commit the sin of dead air occasionally, I'd like to also ask, and no pressure to commenters, but would you like us to have some sort of music behind this? Some sort of light, soft stuff, just to kind of give you something to listen to when we're thinking about shit? I don't know if that's something that we can do, and I probably should have talked about it before the actual podcast so that, we could talk about it, but here we are. Anyway, it's an idea. Let us know if you like it.
I'm not going to promise anything.
No, you should not promise anything at all.
No, ever. And then we had, I don't know if we wanted to talk more about Lorna thing, if you had anything to say about that one.
No, I think it. She also talked about how definition of friendships is very personal, and the concept of free love is difficult for people to accept, and I totally agree with both of those things. So absolutely.
And then Sierra Lane with
Hello,
his epic
Sierran.
comments.
Although it seems Sierran is trying to practice some restraint. I appreciate the grind, my friend, but you be you. As long as you're freely being you, I'm happy.
Um, yeah, and he brought up a good point about autistic people tend to talk more about themselves in ways that externally it sounds like they're being selfish and, just talking about themselves. But my experience, and I haven't been diagnosed autistic, but I have a lot of autistic traits, so I kind of assume that I'm somewhere on the spectrum.
Also, diagnoses seem to be kind of hard to come by.
And, like, one of the things that I definitely identify with is that when somebody starts talking to me about something, I first think of, can I relate to this experience through an experience that I've had of my own? And then I feel the need to share it with the person to be like, is this what you're talking about? Because, like, I feel like we're bonding over this, and I had this experience, that's like this experience that you're telling me about. And it can really sound like I'm just trying to steal the spotlight, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm I'm really just trying to be like, hey, is this the same? Are we both having the same, like, connection feeling here?
And sometimes the level of energy can come off more in a they were the same because of this thing instead of more of a question. But like, I understand that energy absolutely. And there's a lot of people out there that they feel like they got interrupted, and like that alone is enough to trigger people a lot of times.
Right, right, right.
So yeah, a little more patience and understanding would go a long way towards social communication.
And then we had Ben Ulancy, which again, I didn't realize that that was a
This is becoming a meme.
strange name to
This
say.
is becoming a meme. This whole
Is
name
it?
thing. Yeah.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. But Ben, thanks again for the comment. I'm glad you caught the Jay and Silent Bob reference. That's fantastic, and it made you laugh. That's good.
Um,
Oh yeah, and Ben was talking about polyamory.
yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read this comment officially on Medium just yet, but I'm probably going to respond to you, Ben, and give you some probably agreements, if I'm being honest. But I'll give you my perception on it a little bit further. I didn't go into that in my little article that I did I?
I don't think so.
Huh. Interesting.
And I think that is it. So that's the responses. People commenting. Good
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you all for your engagement. It's so sweet. We really appreciate it. Absolutely every time. Just so you know.
This and I already sort of said it earlier before, but now that we're on to the main topic, it's about basically when you start. It's that period of time between, being just a sort of nameless person on the internet with no connection to yourself, and then making a friend that you actually give your real information to and develop a real connection with.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I'm calling that from pen name to pen pal.
I think that's a really good way of saying it, honestly. I mean, I don't know if pen pal is still like a colloquial thing anymore.
I mean,
That might be showing our age a
yeah,
little bit.
it could be, but
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Maybe the
I mean,
concept's still
our
loose.
my kid seems to feel like that's a thing that can
Yeah.
that they know what it means. So I don't know. Maybe it stuck around.
Maybe. We'll see. Anyway.
Anyway, so a lot of this is going to kind of just be my journey with Medium.
To an extent,
To an
yeah.
extent.
Because this is where you made those connections.
Yeah, and realistically, when I started out with the Kikilu pen name, I didn't really intend to make connections, and I didn't really like. I started forming them, but I had some difficulties that made me not want to write on that account as much. So, like the friendships that I was starting to make didn't really fruit. And actually, I didn't put it on these notes, but now that I'm thinking about it, my very first pen name to pen pal was Sierra Lane.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. And I came across them. I don't know, probably in my looking for followers kind of stages.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to exchanging ideas and everything, and I was like, they kept wanting to do it through like he kept wanting to do it through private notes and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and the private notes just aren't enough. It's like 200 words to talk, and then we'd have these like chains
Oh, that's cute.
of,
That's so cute.
of just one of us doing that, and there's at a certain point we're just like, you know what, how about we start doing email?
Mm-hmm.
And so we started talking through email, and it it never occurred to me that I was giving out information.
Mm.
You know, for some reason, Siren has always been so genuine, just so trustable.
Well, I mean, I know that there's bad actors out there. There's people that are going to try and take advantage and get trust from people, but like, you were so small. There's nothing anybody could have been
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to get from you.
Right?
It would seem. Sure, there's probably still people. There's still bad actors out there, but like, you know,
Nobody knew
enough
me.
enough words pass between two people, and you start to get a sense of a person. I think, and especially if you're observant. Like, there's some people that are pretty oblivious, and that's totally fine. We can all live. I'm pretty oblivious at times too, so I'm not judging certainly, um, but I think that a lot of times you can get to know somebody with enough words transferred back and forth, as long as you're not rose tinted glasses.
I think it's also important to note that my Kiki Lou account it's my erotica and romance account. So the worst that could possibly be happening in that case, in that time frame, was that maybe Siren was trying to get to know me for sexual purposes, but he was asexual, like very
Yeah.
openly so. He's like, yeah, I'm not really like into that thing, and a lot of the questions were about my erotica,
Mm.
but not in the like it read very curious,
Right.
not like aroused.
Right.
So, which would have been fine. It's just that's a different way of coming off that made it feel like, oh well, yeah, we can totally have a conversation about this in a more intellectual capacity. It was an interesting beginning.
It sounds very cute, and I adore the thought.
But then when I went over to making the accidental monster account, the one that I continue to use as my main account now, the very first person to seem to reach out to me on that account was Stephanie Braden, and I feel really bad because I'm sure that at some point she's probably going to listen to this, but I was really freaked out by her offer to do like a FaceTime kind of like phone call with visual stuff right off the bat, and I'm just like, no, no, I can't do that. I'm not up for that.
Right. And I think it's probably okay. Just you stating that like that just was an uncomfortable thing for you at the time, and there's no judgment on Stephanie for being
No,
into it.
she was super friendly. It's
Mm-hmm.
just she was very. I think that she, in her line of work, does a lot of that phone call through the internet thing with the picture and everything. Video call? What are they called? I'm
It's
so
probably
old.
probably a video call.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
pretty old too.
so she does a lot of that stuff, and so this didn't seem out of the ordinary to her. It didn't seem like something that would be too much for a person because
Right.
like that's just it's not usually too much for people.
Right.
But then there's people like me who like just talking in the email sometimes would be exhausting.
Yeah.
And that's not anybody's fault. It's just I was working up to being more social.
And when you're not social for a long period of time, and you're starting to ramp up that social um, muscle again, it can just be like mind-numbingly terrifying at times.
Yeah.
And everything that seems very minor to people that are constantly social can just seem like a huge misstep,
Yeah,
potentially.
and I have a lot of anxiety, like
Right.
from various sources, but the idea of somebody hurting me from, that came from Medium, and that just wanted to like make me feel bad was such a big deal at the time.
Mm.
It's not as big anymore, but that's only because of the time that I've spent on Medium, meeting some really fantastic people, and getting more comfortable with the idea that I don't need to please everyone, but most of the people on Medium are so friendly anyway that it's not as much of a risk.
Right.
It's not like I'm writing on Twitter.
Right. The joke doesn't even land because neither one of us Twitter.
No, well, I have a Twitter
I have a
account.
Twitter too, but I've never tweeted.
Tweeted.
Twerted. Never twerted once.
I do sometimes share my.
I may have retweeted.
I share my links. Like sometimes I've put like the notes that I do on Buy Me a Coffee and on Patreon.
Mm.
I will share those. I'll share those on Twitter, but I'll also share them on Mastodon, and I prefer Mastodon.
Yeah, I can't imagine why. We don't want to get this into political stuff.
No.
I know I've been told it's okay, but like, just imagine I shit on Elon Musk for a few minutes. Just imagine it.
I don't know if I actually like post this. I've seen somebody on Mastodon. They were removed. They were banned from Twitter, basically because they were talking about Twitter.
Yeah, a lot of people got that.
So if I share this link on Twitter and then I don't have an account tomorrow, y'all know why, okay?
Yeah, it's my fault. That's
No, I'm the one that brought Twitter up.
That's true.
Yeah,
But
it's my fault.
But you're not the one that directly wanted to shit on Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't care. If that's what happens, then Twitter's going downhill anyway. Like,
well, we'll see. If it was gonna die, I think it would have died already. So it's gonna morph into something new.
maybe. I guess we'll see. Anyway, so after that whole thing happened, about a month or so later, I found You Good under a different name. We're not going to talk about that. But I was doing the follower to follower at the time.
Mm-mm.
And I don't remember how it happened. I remember that I told her that the way she wrote was kind of a little bit creepy to me, because it was like I had that same feeling of like whenever I read something that I wrote 20 years ago, and I'm like reading it, not like the writing that she did was 20 years old.
This isn't a skill issue. This is
No, it's more like it seems so much like something that I had read and just forgot about.
Right.
Or that I had written and forgot about. And I'm like, I could have written this and then just not like gotten blackout drunk and and forgotten that I ever did it. And it was kind of creepy that way. And eventually she was just like, I'm not here to make money. I'm here to make connections.
Fuck yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I'm here to make money, but I'll give you my email anyway. And I was very upfront because of what happened with Stephanie Braden. I was very upfront with You Good, and I was like, I don't want to do video stuff. I don't even want to do phone calls. I am happy with the email. And she's like, dude, set. That's fine. We'll just email. And oh my God, did we? Oh my God, did we? So I have here like a sort of little break with kind of some thoughts about that, because there was a lot of thought along the way. But it wasn't pointed like we'll talk about it now. Like the idea of trusting others, it was there in every moment, every decision to say a thing in the sentence, but
how did you feel, if you don't mind me kind of breaking in here?
No, it's fine.
How did you feel writing those first, let's say, 5 to 7 emails? Was it nerve-wracking?
I'll be honest with you, I have written probably almost 100 emails to You Good, and those emails are not short.
No, I know.
They're probably like 2,000 to 3,000 word emails.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I don't remember.
You remember how you felt during them?
I want to say that I was nervous because that makes the most sense.
Mm,
But
makes
when I
sense.
think about writing an email to you good now, I just think, well, it's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I can say just about anything.
It's so nice to find
I can
connections like that
probably
too.
actually say anything. I just, limit myself because I'm a spaz.
Aren't we all though?
A little bit.
It's kind of, you know. But yeah, I'm really glad you were able to make that connection because I think real connections like that are difficult to come by, whether you're talking about online or in real life. But and I think that a lot of people here on You Good, whether they're here for money or not, are kind of looking for that connection too.
I think so too.
I'm mumbling again. I'm sorry.
No, but I do think so. Like, even though I started writing on Medium because I wanted to make money with writing, I still wanted the connections too.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you find the connections, the more you think, even though I'm not really making a whole lot of money, that's how Medium gets you. I think it's because you think, even though I'm not making a lot of money, there's still a lot of really good people here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good people that I want, excuse me, I want to support. I want to try to keep up with. Poorly, I'm sorry, but I try.
Mm-hmm.
People that I just want to be able to talk to.
You can take a moment. Yeah, I understand.
It's pollen season.
I think that that's a very common struggle, actually, is keeping up with whatever, and I'm going to call Medium a social media, but I think keeping up with social media is becoming a struggle for just about everybody because, like, there's people that I see on other platforms that I think are, like, on top of their shit. Like, they're just constantly, it seems like they're in the right places, keeping up with all the people that they care about, but then when they talk about themselves, they're like, man, I just don't feel like I have enough time to check in with everybody, and like I feel like I'm dropping the ball so hard, and so like I think it's a common thing.
You see all these tabs?
I do.
All these tabs that are all Medium tabs?
Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah, that is this past like 4 days worth that I hadn't gotten to.
Yeah, I understand. Why are you emphasizing this point at the moment?
Because it is super difficult, and I literally sometimes just pull them up to whittle away at them here and there
Mm-hmm.
instead of doing them in one block.
Right.
It is so difficult.
It is, and I want to just briefly bring up that there's going to be people, potentially people that listen to this, that their social medias aren't cracking. They're not getting notifications that are overwhelming. They're not having a hard time keeping up with all the communities that they're in because they don't have that sort of connection. And I don't want you to think that we're just like shitting on all over your experience or not acknowledging that. Like I know from some people that have been there, and both Tam and I have been in a space where we've been completely unsocial, except with each other.
I will say, I will say though that the reason for that, I don't know, maybe not 100%. I don't like giving absolutes, but the majority of the time, an overwhelming majority of the time, if you aren't getting a whole lot of notifications with comments from people
On Medium specifically.
on Medium specifically, but I think it applies to some degree elsewhere.
Hmm.
But if you're not getting that, the reason is because you're not engaging with other people.
Yeah, I actually, I'm just a baby on Medium right now. Like I'm not really jumping into a whole lot of stuff, but I've immediately noticed that when I start reading other people's
Mm-hmm.
articles and commenting, highlighting, clapping, any of it, like it just immediately like breeds engagement. You
Well, we
know?
noticed that too on Twitch, where
Oh yeah.
you have had a lot more. I wouldn't say that you've gone from pen pal or from pen name to pen pal with them, but you're like on the process.
Well, I can talk about that a little bit if you don't mind. Do you want to make a point first?
Yeah, I want to make my point first.
You go ahead.
But you've gotten to a point where you are social enough that if you do a Twitch stream, you actually get views. Whereas I have never really been active on Twitch, and when I did some Twitch videos, I got nobody. I think there was like one person that like popped in and then left.
Yeah, and that's actually really common for Twitch. Do you mind if I take the floor for a second here?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, I have extensively kind of searched around on Twitch for the past couple of years, and I've found some people that are streaming to themselves for hours a day, every day. Not every day, like multiple times a week though. and some of them are active and some of them aren't. But I also know of people that when they started Twitch, they'd already been hanging out in streams for years. They'd already been, you know, gaining those connections, those social relationships, turning pen pals into, no, I'm sorry, turning pen names into pen pals.
I know I did that too.
I was gonna say pen pals into pen friends. I don't know what the fuck.
Pen friends.
Pen friends. Anyway, but they'd already made those connections, and so the first time that they hit that go live button, there was upwards of 25 people that pop in over time, over a few hours, just to be like, wow, you're streaming, look how cool that is. And so, yeah, engagement goes a long way. And it can be really difficult for a lot of people out there to look at stuff and be like, well, what do you mean engagement? What am I supposed to say to them? And it's like, sometimes,
whatever comes to your mind,
yeah,
honestly.
but sometimes listening will help you to find something to say. There's hundreds of times that I've gone into a Twitch stream and just decided I wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to lurk, which is a pretty common practice on Twitch. And then something happens on stream or somebody says something in chat that I just engage with. It's just something that pops out of my fingers or my face hole, although they can't hear me when I speak out loud. That's okay. So, like, listen, see what's going on, read the vibes, see where you go from there.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that saying negative things, you're. I don't want to say that you're not allowed to say negative things, because I've definitely said some negative things. Usually it's because somebody wrote something that I feel strongly against or just about, and I want to talk about it. I don't know that there's any variation in it. Every single time I do it, the other writer seems to get so disheartened by it that they stop writing. I don't know what it is. I'm not trying to get them to stop writing, but they do. And it seems like the negative comments, and I don't mean like being an asshole, guys. I mean like actually being
like even constructive criticism.
Yes, constructive criticism. Just responding kindly, but also maybe opinionated. It has a huge impact on people.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of people that don't that won't maybe agree, or that maybe will see the word constructive in there as subjective, Yeah. And I get that, but yeah, on social media it seems like people are very fragile and they'll disappear at anything. But it also I don't feel like we should. I'm the worst person to say this, but I don't feel like we should really coddle people. I think we should be kind and attentive and understanding and empathetic.
Well, I was mentioning that because
but also honest.
Yeah, also definitely honest. And I was mentioning that because if anybody's struggling with, trying to get more people to talk to them on, whatever social media they're on, maybe don't talk to the people that you'd be negative to. Maybe don't. I mean, if what comes out of your face hole is something that is criticizing them, perhaps that's not where your time is best spent.
Perhaps, and that might be difficult to hear.
Right, it might be difficult to hear.
It might be, but it's something to think about. If the content you're engaging with causes you to have negative reactions, what kind of content causes positive reactions? And this is a good thing for just mood. If you're in a shit mood, if you know what kind of content brings you smiles, then you know how to help yourself to an extent. That doesn't mean you should.
I wish I could go back.
Sometimes you can stay in a bad mood by choice.
I wish I could go back. And there were a few, I don't remember who they are, but I remember that they happened. I was just in a bad mood, and I took what they said in a bad way. And when I looked at it later, I was like, that's kind of shitty of me. That really was unnecessary. I could have been kinder here.
Sure, absolutely. You've come so far, by the way. But yeah.
Anyway, coming back to the original point.
Yeah, where were we? What are we doing? Where are we at?
There's different aspects when you think about trusting other people. Like, full on strangers are different from acquaintances. And what is their motivations? Like I was saying with Sierra, and his motivations could have been to be, I don't know, to like horn dog on me, but he's gay, so like right at the very beginning, that was kind of off the table.
Well, yeah.
So it made it easier to be able to trust him because there wasn't a motive that fit, that made it sound like it was a risk.
Right, and it's more than just his stated sexuality or anything like that that made it to where it was safe. It was the way that he interacted with you.
Yes, yes. Because there's like you can say that you're gay and then act in a way that's straight, and like I know you're not. I know you're lying. You're at least bi.
Sure, yeah,
you
exactly.
know, but there's a way that people, and I've, full disclosure, I had a history with a gay man that I really thought that was going places because it really seemed like he was into me. We even like I even spent the night at his place.
Mm,
And like I got kind of upset because I was like, after the fact, I was like, he never made a move on me or anything. We slept in the same bed.
mm-hmm.
I think he even like cuddled me. And I'm like, why didn't it go further? And then we worked together. So like our coworker that knew both of us was like, "Oh, honey, he's gay." And I'm like, that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
like I know that sometimes there's an overlap where a gay man can seem friendly enough that you mistake it for being, interest in you.
Mm-hmm.
I've since then I know how to suss that out.
Well, let's say you assume. You might get
I guess
surprised.
that's true.
You
That's
might
true.
get surprised
I
again.
haven't met all 7 billion people. You're
Right.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I think I think that figuring out, when I was talking with you, good, her original account was so transparent, and she even had like real life people that knew her in real life commenting on her. Why are you giving me that face?
Sorry. No, no. Please continue.
On her articles, and I guess there's the possibility that she could have been lying about certain things, but there were some aspects that there's no need for anybody to lie about.
Well, yeah. Anything anyone says could be a lie, but like, I don't know how much time we really want to spend on trying to doubt everything that everyone says. But yeah, I'm sure with you, good, it was the same thing. Just the content of the communication was enough to build that bridge of trust.
Yeah, in the first couple of months worth of emails, whatever information I said to them, and it's the same when I talk to Lorna or Carrie, whatever information I put there, I kind of take a calculated risk in knowing this information could eventually be shared.
Hmm.
I can't assume that these people are going to keep everything that I say in strict confidence, because they might not. Now, I feel pretty comfortable with you, Good, and with Lorna, and with Carrie, and with Siren. I feel pretty comfortable knowing that they aren't going to like blast all this stuff that I send them. If I send them something that's super sensitive and I'm like, I'd really like this to never get out, blah blah blah. They're not really gonna. I don't
Sure.
feel like they're going to do that.
Right.
But that's something that built up over time of exchanging that sensitive information. I have information about all of them that could be also considered pretty sensitive information.
Mm-mm-mm.
And so it's sort of like we kind of have a dance in the interactions where I give a little bit, you give a little bit, I give a little bit more, you give a little bit more, and it's very much the same as like when you're in person gaining trust.
Well, what it also is it's almost a direct representation of what a relationship is. As you get closer to somebody, they get more pieces of you,
Yeah.
and you become more vulnerable to them hurting you, even through them just feeling pain, not them inflicting pain on you, but just them feeling pain makes you more vulnerable to being hurt. And
Yeah,
you get to come closer.
it's kind of like there's an episode of Scrubs where I don't remember who says what, but it basically comes down to you don't put out all your crazy all at once. You meter it out in little bits along the way.
Oh, I wish I could just put out all my crazy all at once. So much
No,
easier.
you'd scare people away. Nobody can handle that crazy all at
I
once.
have scared people away.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
You have to learn how to
Those
do
were
it a
my-
little bit at a time.
Those are some of my favorite relationships. It was so easy, and I knew exactly where I stood.
So like with Lorna and Carrie, and I think even Sierra, like they have pictures of themselves, and I think they're using their real names too. I don't use my real name, and I don't use a picture of me. Can you believe it?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because my picture isn't anywhere on any of my screens. Oh yeah, there it is. That tiny little
Yeah,
guy.
I know the Tam. I know the little Tam dude.
The little Tam dude.
Tam duder.
And so I because I suffer with the fear of like who's gonna find out and what are they gonna think when they see what I look like and like how is this gonna come back around to me? I have all this anxiety about it. It's kind of crazy. I need to work on it. Um, but then after we went through Eugood's stalker story, I during that while it was happening, I felt like I needed to prove to her that I was me,
Uh-huh.
or at least that I wasn't the people that
Would do bad things.
were involved
Okay.
in that difficulty. And so I actually sent them like I took a picture just to send to her.
Uh-huh.
And it's like the only time I've ever actually like sent a picture of me online to somebody I didn't know.
Interesting. Yeah, you're further behind on that than I am.
I know.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It was also after our first
so
phone call.
I'm so proud of myself now.
It was also after our first phone call where when the whole stalker thing started, she was kind of legitimately freaked out because there was some weirdness going on and she couldn't really trust that anybody was who they said they were. And she didn't say any of this in the email. I just, after you email somebody over and over again, eventually you kind of get the gist of like what it's like when they are freaking out.
Yeah.
And she kind of was like, I don't want to talk about it on the email, but like if you're up for having a phone call, like here's my number.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Not even a thought. I did not even have a thought about
The
it. I was
comfort
just
level was
yeah.
so high.
And now I'm like, you know, if she were to ask, hey, do you want to talk on the phone? I'd probably be, you know, my normal like, I don't really like talking on the phone.
That's okay. You're allowed to be yourself.
But at that moment,
Yeah.
I could tell that she was freaked out
Your
because
empathy
of
was
all.
engaged.
Yeah, and I was like, I have to. I need to, you know, extend this and find out what's going on because it's a friend in need, and I wanted to be there for her.
A friend with weed is better, I hear. I'm sorry.
I have plenty of those.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? I'm sorry. I'm just getting silly, I guess.
So I mean, I don't know what that means about the whole like going from pen pal or pen name to pen pal. Why do we want to put pen pal first?
I don't know. From pen pal to pen friend. Go ahead.
I don't know how, like this isn't a playbook to use because I think each situation is different. I think if Carrie wanted to talk on the phone, if she were really freaked out, I don't know if would I act the same way? Maybe. I don't know that I can determine that I act the same way until it happens.
Right, it's difficult to determine without it actually happening. But I think what we can say is that, you know, getting to know somebody from the very beginning, from strangers, is going to be a very specific process every time. And so there's not going to be a great rule that you can just have for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think something that you can do if you're feeling the urge to get closer to somebody and you sense that same desire from them but you're nervous about it, reread your old conversations.
Hmm.
You know, go back through the stuff that you started, the earliest ones you can find, and just go through those conversations and see if any of it seems off to you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or
And
see if you just
have somebody
remember.
else read them.
That's also a good idea. Absolutely. Just to get a third perspective on it. Of course, you know, someone trusted and stuff like that. And maybe that might be breaking consent in some regard. I don't fully know. But like, you know, you can share stuff with people, I guess. I don't know.
Well, and then the stuff that I was talking about, like way at the beginning of this episode, about how different information or locations or whatever can change the way we see people. Confession wise, when I found out the kind of the kind of lifestyle that You Good currently has, like when I found out that information, I started feeling very insecure about myself.
Hmm.
Excuse me. The more I learned about her in the real world, the more it struggled to match what I believed to be true from the writing back and forth. Does that make sense?
Yes. We gain we make impressions of people based on what we know, and then as we start to learn more dimensions of a person, sometimes it becomes discordant because we had
Yeah.
certain. It can be as simple as like, you know, not seeing someone's face and just talking through text, and then all of a sudden you see their face and you're like, that's not what I was expecting.
Right.
I now have to like relearn who the fuck you are.
Right. And it's not necessarily a deal breaker, but I think there are personal stereotypes and biases that we all have that when we learn the truth and it doesn't fit what we expected, it can be jarring.
Right. And it would be nice and easy if we could just not have expectations in that
Wouldn't that be
regard.
nice?
You know, that way we just learn things fresh and new and we don't have to overwrite anything. But unfortunately, we're all human and we all have these previous experiences to pull from. So,
I think at the
yeah.
end of the day, if I had to pinpoint one thing that was a deal breaker that would just like turn me off, quote unquote, of the path of making somebody into a real friend from, the online world, is them lying.
Like finding out for sure that someone told you was
Yeah.
incorrect.
Yeah.
I have I'm not I'm not trying to say which way is better or worse, but like I would be able to come up with a lot of reasons why that person may have lied out of fear or stuff. But
I don't mean little lies. I mean like they pretended to be a 35-year-old housewife and they're actually a 65-year-old man living,
or a 14-year-old boy.
or 14-year-old boy. Yeah, exactly. Those are deal breakers. You lie about some huge fundamental element about who you are, we are not friends. Because the friendship, that whatever was built there before the truth came out, was built on literally a lie. So there's nothing there. It is false.
Mm.
Now, if they want to, like, try to recoup it and start over, we're starting over on pretty rocky ground.
Right. I understand.
It's not impossible, but I don't I don't like to build on fantasy.
I understand.
I don't want to build on something that doesn't actually exist. So
I hate. I'm not trying to disagree with you here, but I do have a bit of a differing opinion, I guess, on it. But like, those past experiences still mattered, or would still matter to me. If I had good conversations with somebody, even if all of those conversations were based off of a lie, then once I found out that they lied to me, I would probably be slightly excited in the hopes that they would be interested in telling me why they lied. And I would just get to learn more about the human condition. I'm weird. Don't ever listen to me.
it might be a gender thing because
Maybe.
as a female I was taught that once somebody has lied to you, you can't trust them because your safety depends on them being honest.
It might be a privilege thing.
It
Absolutely.
could be.
To where like, you know, I feel pretty comfortable knowing that like I don't have a feeling that people are going to kill me as I go around. There's a lot of people out there that walk around the streets and they just feel like they're going to get killed, including rich white women. So like, you know, it's it's a rough time for a lot of people, and I didn't have to deal with a lot of that. So it could be just a privilege thing.
Or it could just be you. There's a lot that's just you.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Well, I guess we've kind of talked enough about this. I don't know if we got to what was expected in this, but we got somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely got somewhere. We talked about some stuff. Maybe we generated some ideas within the people that listen, and that's really the goal at the end of the day. And I really hope that we maybe brought a smile or two.
So for the next episode, we're going to do Lorna and Eric Monk's work setting kind of stuff. But if you've made it this far in the podcast, I would like to put out there, I'd like to start maybe adding in episodes that are based on listeners' experiences.
Yeah. So if you're interested, no pressure at all for this, but if you're engaged with the content and you feel like you have a story or an event or a circumstance that you felt pretty vulnerable in and you're willing to share that vulnerability, we would be more than happy to well, we'd be more than happy to read it unless you didn't want us to, but we'd be more than happy to talk about it. But understand that this is a very vulnerable request. And so protect yourself exactly as much as you feel like you need to.
So I created a new email address for this purpose. So it's theaccidentalmonster@yahoo.com. I'll put a link to it in all the descriptions wherever I have descriptions. But yeah, you can send whatever your story is. Let me know if you want it to be anonymous or if you want me to say a specific name or whatever. Protect your own identity as much or as little as you feel like you need to. Let me know if we can read it out verbatim or if you want us to sort of summarize without actually saying what you said. Whatever it makes you comfortable.
Exactly. Absolutely. And I want to be just a little bit vulnerable here at the end and say that, like, I'm a little nervous talking about real people's experiences here, because the last thing I want is to accidentally dox anyone or to share information that would make people feel uncomfortable, make people feel like they're being called out.
Do we want to just say that unless it's specifically stated that everybody that writes in will just consider them to be anonymous?
Uh,
That way we're not running the risk of doxing anyone or putting anything out that needn't be.
well, let's say anonymity is certainly an option. I don't know that we need to make a rule. I think that we want to leave all of that in the hands of anybody that wants to comment in this regard. Or email, like you said. Also, I'm going to give you a little bit of shit for Yahoo.
I know, it's just.
In case you were born in the past 20 years, Yahoo is YAHOO. Because it's not as relevant as it was 20
Okay,
years
that's
ago.
fair, but I didn't want to make another Gmail because I didn't want to have to sign out
I
and
understand. I
sign
totally
into
get it.
another browser, and it's a lot. So
I just think it's cute. I wanted to call it.
I mean, I kind of thought that Yahoo did actually, like, people know Yahoo.
Do they?
Yeah, it's not super used, but Yahoo and Bing are actually kind of used now.
I thought Bing was only
sort
used.
of coming back.
I thought Bing was only used by hipsters that wanted to avoid Google. That was a joke. I don't mean that. If you're a Bing user,
I don't, I don't remember what the study was, but I saw a thing where it said that it's kind of on the rise because there's a lot of problems going on with Google, and there's people that are searching for options.
Interesting.
Alternatives to Google.
Well, anyway.
Yeah.
So, feel free to share your experiences if you'd like. Thank you very much for listening. We very much appreciate your time. We're just bumbling around in the dark out here, and it's cute that you want to listen to it.
Or also just epic and amazing and pog.
That too, absolutely.
All right, so we're ending.
Yeah.
You want to do your thing?
Do I do my thing
yeah,
first?
you do your thing
Is that
first.
how we do it?
That's how we do it.
So, I'm Eternally Mortal, and thank you very much for listening again, and I hope you find smiles this day.
And I'm the Accidental Monster. We can both be found on medium.com. And until next time, follow each other, follow the dopamine, and follow yourselves always.